It's a guy's face being torn off by mystical forces until it literally just turns into a skull, which drops to the ground.
Oh, cool.
Actually, I did work on it. I shot the blood for it.
A practical blood?
Yeah. But we had this, nobody had fluid dynamics in those days. So what we did was we took a dummy wig head, stuck it on a C-stand and turned it sideways. A white dummy head, then we took a piece of white cardboard and put it behind it. So essentially what you saw through the camera, we shot it on video, you just saw a field of white. And then we took fake movie blood and just poured it all over the head. And because we had the camera turned sideways, it hit the head, bled around the side of it, and just dripped to the ground. So you turn that sideways, it becomes a head bleeding blood in the wind. So we took that element, keyed it over the CG head with all the other stuff, and now you had blood going bloop, 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 and Excellent. It was all real.
Excellent. Excellent. Mixing the practical with that.
Well, that's what the old timers do. And I'm basically an old timer. What we call the keyboard kids. You guys are recording, aren't you?
Probably. I think that's okay. You just keep forgetting.
Yeah. The problem we have, and one of the reasons I go to schools and I teach a class at UCLA about old school visual effects is because we have what we call keyboard kids. They've never touched a real camera. They've never touched film. They don't understand how light reacts to film. So they're used to taking digital images, putting A over B and going, I'm done. And you're going, it doesn't look real. And they go, yeah, it doesn't look real, but I don't know why. It's because you don't understand film. You don't understand the look of film. And it doesn't matter that we're shooting digitally. We're shooting digitally to approximate the look of film. So you have to understand the rules of film so you can emulate them and do the things that the computer doesn't know to do, that as an artist you have to apply, which is why there's good compositors and bad compositors. But keyboard kids will sit there and they'll punch every button till it lights up in the bay and going, They'll turn every dial till it pegs at 10 and then say, apparently it can't be done. And you'll go, no, get out of your chair. Just let's go under. Before we had Lightwave doing lens flares and you needed a lens flare, we would literally go into a dark room with a pen light, shine it into the camera lens, get a lens flare, do a frame grab, and then take that and DX it over because there's no way to get lens flares. Now, you sit there and just...
It's a million ways.
It's a million ways to do it, but a keyboard kid would say it can't be done because they have no concept of get out of your chair and shoot it for real. Yeah. We had to do a puff of smoke once, and the guy's spending all this time, well, how's that? Well, I'm looking at particles and stuff, and it's like, no. We went out again, under the stage, we got a cigar, we got a video camera and a spotlight, puff of smoke, shot it, DX'd it over, done. 5 seconds. Yeah. But people will spend hours, days, working digitally because that's all they know because they're keyboard kids.
So you would suggest everyone to get a decent camera, get used to working on a camera, DSLR of some
absolutely.
sort. And, okay.
You can look at a demo reel and tell who knows photography and who doesn't. Because the people that don't know photography, the default lens is a 35 millimeter. When they want a close-up, they'll move that camera 5 inches away. When they want a wide shot, they'll move it 2 miles back. But it's still the perspective of a 35 millimeter. Because they've never been in a real room where you say, I want to get a wider shot. Hey, there's a wall behind me. Let me just switch lenses. They have no concept of that. So everything looks the same from the same perspective because it's the same lens because they don't have the limitations of a back wall. I'll make the wall transparent and go through it. You can tell when someone says, this would look better if I swap lenses and I'll use a long lens on this. I always tell people, if you want to learn photography, you want to learn lighting, watch a show like Law and Order. Don't watch Avatar, don't watch, Star Trek, don't watch any science fiction show that you like because, they have spaceships and giant robots and chrome ninjas. Watch a show that has to tell a story without gunfire, and car chases. And Law and Order is mostly people talking, interviewing people, chasing down suspects, and they're in a courtroom. When you watch that show, just turn off the sound. That is a show that is designed to tell you this is important, this is not. With the lighting, with the camera moves, you can learn more about camera and staging watching Law & Order than you can almost any other show because it is exclusively a show about talking heads.
Awesome. Well, just to let everyone know that we are talking to Glenn Campbell. He's an Emmy Award-winning visual effects supervisor for Area 51. We got to sit down with you for about, I think, 15 minutes or so, and we started chatting, and I know we started recording, so that's great. Okay. So we'll just kind of keep going on. So you were talking a little bit about making sure that the students have photography, kind of your generic, almost generic art. What about drawing, painting?
Drawing and painting are pluses. The problem is most people aren't very good at it. So when you have a demo reel that shows strong 3D work, if you can add, I'm also a good storyboard artist or a painter and texture artist, you go, this is great. This guy's a force to be reckoned with. On the other hand, if you have a mediocre demo reel and your drawing level is basically several steps down from 1970s DC comics or something, so it's like, wow, you're not very good at 3D and you can't draw either. It doesn't do you any favors.
Okay.
If your art is not professional quality art, putting crude comic book-esque drawings of things doesn't say, and he can draw too. It just says, wow, he's not very good at anything, and he doesn't know it.
For demo reel purposes, really, just take your strongest element and just highlight that?
Absolutely. Well, the thing about a demo reel, there's two kinds of companies out there. There are the large companies everybody wants to work for. I want to work for Weta. I want to work for ILM, Rhythm and Hughes, Digital Domain, and that's great. And there's small companies, Area 51, Zoics, the boutiques. Zoic's gotten pretty big now, but the small boutique companies. They're two different companies for two different reasons. If you work at Weta, or you work at ILM, you're working at a movie that's got 2,000 shots. So they are factories. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm simply saying it's the Henry Ford approach to, there's a room full of guys that do all 5 primary jobs of visual effects. You model, you texture, you animate, you light, and you composite. Those are the 5 primary jobs. I mean, there's secondary jobs. There's guys doing rigging, and there's guys doing particle stuff and stuff. But basically, if you get hired, it's for one of those 5 jobs. If you go to ILM, any shot that comes out of there, 5 different guys worked on it. One guy did the models, another guy did the texturing, another guy animated it, another guy lit it, another guy comped it. If you go to Zoic, any 5 shots that come out of there, one guy did them, he did everything. He did all 5 jobs because they hire generalists, talented generalists, which is why you can have a company of 10 to 15 people, 25 people, doing 200 to 1,000 shots, whereas ILM has 500 people doing the same thing. But again, it's quantity versus quality to a certain degree, but it's also speed. ILM's got a year and a half to do these shots. We've got 6 months. We've got 6 weeks.
Now, why is it so much shorter?
Because you're doing television.
Okay.
And television, the turnaround time is about 3 weeks. From the most of the time you spend on any given episode, and they overlap, is about 3 weeks, tops. Whereas you get 3 months to 6 months on a feature.
Okay.
So an episode of a show might have 60 shots in it. You're going to do all those 60 shots in 3 weeks, which means you have to have a room full of guys who are doing all 5 jobs simultaneously, cranking out 5 shots, not one guy doing one thing, handing it off. It's the difference between having a speedboat and an ocean liner. If I want to go to New York, to London, I want to be on an ocean liner. I want ILM. If I want to do a quick run around the harbor, I want a speedboat. I want Area 51 or I want Zoic.
Okay.
And that's the thing. Knowing the journey is what determines who you use. So it isn't just, well, these guys have little PCs, so they're cheaper. It's like, no, we work faster. We do things differently.
Yeah. Software-wise, I get the question all the time.
Sure.
Should I use Maya? Should I use Maya? Should I learn SXI? Should I learn Cinema 4D? And it's the constant question that comes up. We teach 3D Studio Max.
Yeah, Max is great. Cinema 4D is becoming a force to be reckoned with. Yeah. I mean, it used to be a joke, but in the last couple of years, they've come a remarkably far distance, very much so, surprisingly. Lightwave is still viable. Maya is the big boy on the block. SXI is incredibly strong. There's pluses and minuses. If you learn Maya, if you go, I'm going to learn Maya because all the big boys use Maya, you are absolutely right. And if you've mastered Maya, you stand a pretty good chance of getting hired if you get out at one of the major companies. The downside of learning just Maya, just because the big boys use it, is before Maya came out, there used to be Softimage. Jurassic Park was done in Softimage. And everybody who was in school said, I'm going to learn Softimage, so when I graduate from school, I'm going to get hired at ILM. Well, guess what? They graduated, and ILM had moved on to Maya. So they didn't know jack about the new software. They were button pushers who knew what button did what in Softimage. They weren't artists. It doesn't matter what software you learn on. It really doesn't. Software is a tool. Powerful software does not confer artistry. It simply allows you to do it easier. If you have poor software that you can't use well, you can be a great artist and you can't really do much with it because it won't allow you to. If you have great software, but you suck as an artist, then you're still going to turn out bad work. I've seen amazing demo reels in low-res programs. I've seen awful demo reels using high-end programs. It's all about the artist. So if you are a good artist, if you understand movement, if you understand color, if you understand lighting, if you understand all those things, you can turn out good work in any program.
What would you want to see in a demo reel from a student? What's like the fantasy demo reel that comes in? Is it more like, I've got this shot coming up, I need someone who can do exactly this?
No.
Or are you kind of looking at it going like, this guy knows what he's doing, or this girl
This guy knows what he's doing. There are specialists out there, especially guys that do things like particles. They'll put together a demo reel that says, you want water, you want Tinkerbell stuff, I'm your man. And those guys are in demand because, particle stuff, water stuff, it's all a black art. Very few people, you ever look at those programs, open them up, what does this do? Right. So guys who are actually masters at it work constantly because people know, let's get Fred in, he's the particle guy, he's the go-to guy for that stuff. And that's wonderful.
Well, that'll dry up eventually.
That'll
make it a little bit easier and a little bit more push button.
And it does, but you still want the guy that can, you can use default settings for a lot of stuff, but having someone who can make it, climb a tree, stand up, roll over, and work on command, not generic, well, yeah, I got this water sparkling thing, but something that goes, it has to hit here, because now that people know, now that directors know that you have control, they want to art direct every drop, every single bit. And you can't just go, well, that's what it does. And, you used to be able to say that going, look, that's how it works. It's real world dynamics. You throw it at it, that happens, we're done. Yeah. Now it's like, well, have that, but on top of it. And that's the thing. People who only know plugins, they're the ones that really find it hard to get a job because they'll have the endless plugin parade on their demo reel. And it's like, okay, what do you know how to do? It's like mocap. Mm-hmm. Mocap's great. Mocap is a tool. When everybody was doing mocap television shows, they had Starship Troopers and, Voltron and all these different shows. A couple of years ago, everybody was doing kids shows with mocap. And they hired anyone graduating from school who could hold a mouse. And they cranked out all these shows, and after about a year or two, they all failed. And they said, all right, everybody out of the pool, we're done. And all of a sudden, all these demo reels started hitting all the visual effects companies. And it was Fred Smith, animator, and it was all mocap stuff. And yes, there is a skill required to clean up mocap data. I was
going to say, that's a cleaning up, taking out data spikes more than...
Exactly. Yeah. And it's good to have animation knowledge to be able to know how to fix things. But for the most part, these guys were just cleaning up mocap data.
But you could buy that
exactly
anyway, so at some point.
So what you had was an entire generation of kids who said, last week I couldn't even spell animator. Now I are one. And it's like, no, you're a mocap guy. That's not animation. So none of them got work after that because their demo reels clearly said, I don't know anything about visual effects or animation, I just know mocap. Your demo reel has to show that you are an animator. If you're going to be an animator, you want to see mocap on there. I want to see stuff that says, this didn't have any motion, I imbued this thing with life. I made this living character look like he has walking intention and thought. I made that vehicle look like it has weight and mass. It shifted. It rocked in the proper places. I did all those things on my own because I am an animator. That's what your demo reel shows. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for object moving. We're not looking for things that move from A to B. We're looking for things that say, I understand real world motion. Because 9 times out of 10, no matter how fantastic the subject, it's still based on real world. Because to follow the real world rules of physics. And when you see that, when you see someone's demo reel that dots the I's, crosses the T's on his own, you go, that guy I can hire. That's a guy to go to for staff, or definitely in the speed dial for freelance, because if we need extra people, we can count on this guy without being told, how come you're not done with that? Are you not going to fix that? That's not good enough. They understand that.
How do you guys work with freelance?
Depending on the nature of it, we have a couple people we use for freelance that, again, have proven themselves. They're go-to guys that say, we need some more people, see if these guys are busy, and we'll call them in because we know we can drop them behind enemy lines with a knife in their teeth, and they'll get the job done. Other freelancers, we base on their demo reels of, this guy sucks at everything except modeling, but he's a kick-ass modeler. So we don't have to hire him. We'll simply call him up, have him work, we'll send him the blueprints, we'll email him, he'll FTP us the model. He can live in Boston, we don't care. All he's gonna do is build the model for us or rig it or something, and we'll take it from there. So we have a list of generalists that we use, that we call to say we need all hands on deck. We need a lot of people to do a bunch of stuff. And then we've got specialists. There's a guy named Bill Arance who is he's a pilot, but he's also one of the best modelers on the planet, and he loves planes. If Bill Arance builds you a plane, every nut, bolt, and rivet that should be there is there. Everything that a plane can physically do and move is capable of doing because he understands planes. So other people, I wouldn't know what to do. I'd go, that little flappy thing on the wing and the tail that moves around. I don't know that it can't go that far. It only goes this far. Bill knows the range, and he will build in constraints. It can literally only do what a real plane does. So again, you need a plane, he's on the phone immediately. He's the guy we call.
Brings up the kind of the scary questions. What is a starting artist coming in, so straight out of school? What are they to expect if they get a job at a company your size? Okay. What's the average day?
If they're a starting artist and they've come in with a demo reel that says they are a talented generalist, they'll get thrown into the deep end of the pool. It's just like, you're the new guy? We love your reel. That's your desk. Here's some storyboards. Lunch is at 1. Welcome aboard. Go. And we turn them loose and we see what they can do. Obviously, we supervise.
But it's not hand-holding, I take it.
There's no hand-holding unless, because again, your demo reel says you don't need it. There's no reason for us to hire someone who needs hand-holding. There's way too many people out there graduating from school who are better than you. So that's the thing. You can't be just mediocre. You can't have a demo reel that's just C average going, I did the basics. The teacher says I passed all the minimum requirements. I'm ready for a job. No. I have no use for you whatsoever, except on night shift doing roto, and you better be good at that. So,
is that kind of the low end of the low?
The low end of the low is night shift roto. If you suck at everything, you can get a job at Stereo D or Legend or whatever, working night shift, rotoing Jack Black's ass for Gulliver, and he's got a big ass, so you're going to be there a while.
A lot of work that way.
A lot of work.
So, little hairs is the hard part, right?
So, if you graduate from school with no demonstrable talent, you will work night shift doing all the drudge work. You'll be painting the chains off, Roseanne Barr playing Tinkerbell or something, but you're not, I'm sorry, that was terrible. I shouldn't have said that.
It's just a visual I don't want.
But it's something that you will do the drudge work. The A students will be animating the T-Rex, the C students will be animating the toenails on the T-Rex, doing the secondary stuff. On a scale of 1 to 10, what people look for when they're judging a demo reel as far as a new student, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 would be the guy that says, I've seen The Matrix 100 times. I want to work on them kind of movies. 10 would be the guys that made The Matrix. Most students, when they graduate, are 5. They are a C student. They know enough to get in trouble. They know what button does what, but they have no artistic talent or ability. If you give them something to do, they will do the minimum required because that's all they know. That's what a C student is. They're average. What we're looking for out of school on a scale of 1 to 10 is not a 5, but someone who's a 7. Someone who on their own did the tutorial and said, okay, I understand that concept, but you know what? Now that I see it, this would look so much better if the camera were over here, if the lighting were over here now. Now that I understand the concept, let me make it my own.
So you're not looking for a video co-pilot?
No.
Here's yet another video co-pilot.
Let me get into that. What we're looking for is someone who's taken the tutorials and the demos and the standards, advanced past that, whether the teacher helped them or on their own, they've dotted the I's and crossed the T's and modified it because they realized this is just a demo, it needs to be modified. That's what we see on a demo reel. That's what we're looking for. Because a guy who's a 7 on a scale out of 1 to 10, very quickly, you can teach him how to become an 8, a 9, maybe even a 10. In the same amount of time, someone who's a 5 is only going to get as good as a 7, and that's where we want you to start. We don't care that you've never worked for anybody. We don't care that you're not a professional. If your demo reel says, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 7. I'm better than average. I have, mastered the tutorials and the mechanics, and I've started doing my own stuff on it. I have, talent. I have skill. Because there's a difference between talent and skill. Skill is knowing what button does what in Maya. Talent is being able to make something look good in any program. I don't care. If you're a good compositor, you can be good in Nuke, you can be good in After Effects, you can use Shake, it doesn't matter. If you've got the eye, if you understand mat logic, you're going to be good no matter what program you use. And that's the thing that's important for people to know. Well, I learned Lightwave. Are you really good at Lightwave? Yeah. Then fine. It won't be hard to switch to Maya because form follows function. The things that you need to do as far as animating and rigging, I mean, there aren't that many differences. You look at Lightwave, and Lightwave, you do hierarchy. Lightwave, you say, this is a parent, this is its child. Max, you say, this is a child, that's its parent. Yeah. The point is that the concept of hierarchy is the same. You just have to talk to it differently. So if you're good at rigging, you just need to know what the rules are of that program. If you suck at rigging, it doesn't matter what program you use, you're not going to do a good job. So it doesn't matter what program you learn on. You know, master that program, get good at it, and then you can apply it to any other program out there.
What are the hours? I mean, we hear the scary stories of, you know, I slept in my office and I didn't see my parent, or I didn't see my wife, my girlfriend, or whatever for 14 days.
You cannot be a visual effects artist and not spend at least one night on any given production overnight. That's just how it is.
Well, this kind of lends to the next question, though, is it a full-time gig? Is it like I come work for an Area 51, right, and it is a full-time gig, or is it this is the project, you're here for the project, then you're gone?
Well, we have a staff of 5 people. Okay. That's our core people, but again, those 5 people do the work of 10 people. So that's our fighting weight. And any given time, there's 5 people sitting there cranking stuff out. We get a big enough project where we go, ooh, we're going to need some more people. That's when we start reaching for the Rolodex. The first row are people that we've worked with before. We can count on them. We can trust them. We know they're not going to flame out at the controls and burn out. We know that they have decent personalities, because you can be incredibly talented, but you can be a total asshole. And those are the guys that don't play well with others, that we freelance and farm out stuff. Just build these models, or here's the comps. Yeah. Let us know when they're done. But you know, we can't have them in the same room with other people, because at 3 o'clock in the morning, when the deadline's approaching, you don't want to feel like you want to strangle them. Yeah. So some projects are long term. You know exactly when they're going to be delivered. Short term projects like a commercial or something, or a title for a trailer or something, you know, it's all hands on deck. Hurry up, get it done. You can't ever not deliver. Hours are normally, probably the average for most people would be a 10-hour day. Okay. You know, you come in, you work at, most of the time you're going to come in 9 o'clock in the morning. You'll be out of there 6 or 7, something like that. Those are average hours, you know. Okay. Sometimes you're going to put in at least a minimum of 40-hour week, mostly 50. Most people probably do 50-hour weeks. Okay. The greatest sin, and it's only happened once, is you cannot not deliver. No one cares that, you know, you had marital problems, or, you know, power problems, your wife's in labor, anything. Yeah. You know, no one wants to hear that if that spot doesn't run at the Super Bowl. Because you only get one shot at it, and it's costing them $1 million to run that commercial. It better be ready. So when you're in a situation like that on a television show, they can't say, well, we'll just run last week's episode, or we'll do a repeat. You can't not deliver for television or film. And only recently has that happened. The Harry Potter film, the last Harry Potter, the previous one, part 1, was supposed to be in 3D. I think it was Legend that was working on it. And Legend has a very complicated but impressive technique for doing 3D. They actually map stuff onto 3D objects. They don't just do grayscale stuff in various layers. And it's very, very cool, but it's very labor intensive and time consuming. Yeah. And they missed their deadline. And it was very embarrassing, because they had to announce Harry Potter Part 1 will not be in 3D because those guys screwed up. But you know, and it sent ripples through the rest of the industry, because everybody else is busy doing 3D, going, this makes us look bad. Yeah. But again, they were doing a different technique, so it's like everybody panicked. They go, no, we're doing ours differently, so yours is on schedule, don't worry about it. But there was a great deal of anxiety.
Do you think 3D is kind of here to stay? Do you think it's
in
stereoscopic?
Stereoscopic will stay in some form. This is the first time it's ever had the ability to stay. When it was invented in the 50s, like all things, you know, Panavision, VistaVision, you know, widescreen, it was all designed to combat television, because people were watching stuff for free on TV, and they went, hey, no one's going to the movies. So we have to give them something they can't see on TV. So they had widescreen, they had VistaVision, they had 3D. And back in the day, 3D, you know, its initial iteration was anaglyph. It was red and green, you know, so you had the Creature from the Black Lagoon and Came from Outer Space. And those were all cool movies. They were good movies without the 3D, but that was the C3D coming at you. And it was great. Yeah. So most of the movies were anaglyph, but they were still the ability to do Polaroid back then, but most of the mainstream widescreen films were all anaglyph. And that was generation 1, the 50s. Then in the 70s, someone figured out how to do Polaroid 3D, which was now we have full color and it's 3D, so it's better. So the next iteration was this is an improvement and 3D's here, and then you had Jaws 3D and Space Hunter and The Man Who Wasn't There. And again, crap films that had this gimmick. So it faded yet again. Now the third iteration is now it's digital. It's even better. So each iteration has been an improvement. Make no mistake, 3D's gotten better. But for the first time, 3D now has a venue that didn't exist before, which is television. And something else that, again, you couldn't do before, which is sports and concerts. So no one cares about 3D in an ordinary film. You and I talking here, no one cares that your knee is slightly closer to camera than the rest of you.
Yeah.
You know, that's not important in 3D. If you have a good enough movie, and most movies still aren't 3D and they're doing just fine, 3D is totally irrelevant. If you're doing something like Avatar, which is designed to immerse you in a 3D environment, that's great. That's what it's for. But regular films don't need to be 3D. On the other hand, if I'm watching U2 in concert, or I'm watching Pink Floyd, and I got close-ups of David Gilmour, you know, bending guitar notes, it's like, I want to see that in 3D. This is like I'm on stage with him. You're watching sports. You know, you're on the field with your favorite team. That is where 3D, I think, is going to extend and last, where it didn't have that option before.
But did that open up a venue of, say, 3D ads during the commercials? Or since I don't have a 3D TV,
Yeah,
so
I don't
I'm
have a 3D
guessing,
TV either.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm guessing during a 3D sports
Sure.
show.
I mean,
they've got to have ads, and
yeah,
so
well, if you're
there
going
isn't
to do
really
3D, then I mean, what better thing than having a laxative coming out of the screen in 3D? I mean,
do you have diarrhea?
Yeah, if you're going to do 3D, you have to do 3D. I mean, unfortunately, you have to go booga booga because there's no point. The problem with 3D is that you spend your life in 3D. You use 3D to drive to the theater to go see a 3D movie. You're used to seeing 3D. So sitting in a stereoscopic movie, after a certain point, your brain just goes, okay, this is what I normally see. What else you got? And you start looking at story. So either you have a story that's interesting, and if you have an interesting story, you don't need 3D.
Right.
Or you have a boring story, which means every 5 minutes, you better throw something at the screen, because otherwise people are sitting there watching The Last Airbender going, hey, this looks flat with or without 3D.
Closing each eye, trying to figure out what's... with the new, I guess it's The Hobbit that's coming out, the show at double speed, is that?
Yeah,
48,
I think so, yeah.
and projecting at 48?
Right.
Is that going to be anything other than
No, it's a
more
gimmick.
stock or more whatever?
It's show scan. Doug Trumble came
I was going
up
to say,
with show scan.
yeah, right, it's a show scan thing.
And show scan was amazing. Show scan was 60 millimeter, 70 millimeter film at 60 frames a second.
The Wizard of Speed, I think, was the first one that came out.
No, that was actually Wizard of Speed in Time was Mike Jitloff. That
was it?
different.
Okay.
Yeah, but he did a couple of shorts, and the thing about show scan, it's like 3D. It was unbelievably crisp and clear and beautifully sharp. And again, after about 10 minutes, your eyes just went, okay, I'm used to it. And it was no longer special. So that's why he started doing the little short venues where it's like, okay, I got to make the images special. Because two people talking, your brain just went, I can actually count nose hairs.
Look at his pores.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So and that's the other thing. It became problematic because you could see where makeup lines ended. You had to be much more precise because stuff that, in regular film just blended and got lost in the shuffle. Right. He did a shot where he recreated the opening of Star Wars. He got the Star Destroyer and he shot it in show scan. So you had the Star Destroyer coming overhead and it was really cool and impressive and they had stereophonic sound in the whole bit. But you could practically see fingerprints on the model because it was that clear.
Wow.
It's like, wow, you know what? There's downsides to being that clean.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a gimmick.
So technology will always kind of trump itself at some point. We are talking story.
Right.
Is there anything, we have to probably wrap this up, is there anything that you would want students to stop sending you or that you're really looking for?
Yeah, they need to stop ripping off The Matrix. They need to stop ripping off Seven as far as like their title designs. And also stop using Video Copilot.
Everybody, worst thing that ever happened to the visual effects industry.
Everybody goes there. Everybody is seeing the stuff. So when you take a Video Copilot tutorial and swap out a couple of layers and put your name on it, you're not doing yourself any favors.
If a student has sent you stuff and it's mediocre and you say, great, no thanks,
okay,
should they feel odd resending in a year? Would you expect them to send every year to improve?
I tell people, if you have a bad demo reel, if it's terrible, we just go, oh, this guy doesn't get it, and you just
throw it off to the side.
And by the way, bad demo reels are traded like trading cards among visual effects companies. So if you have a really heinous one, did you guys get one from Fred Smith? No, I'm going to send it to you. You're going to love this.
It's awesome.
And 3 o'clock in the morning when your interest is flagging, you're tired, you need to pick me up, or at lunchtime, we'll just gather a bunch of bad demo reels and watch them and just make ourselves feel better. So and know that's true. That is absolutely true.
Don't want to get on that list.
You want to be on that list. But if you have a demo reel that shows promise, we'll call you. We'll say, hey, listen, you're not ready for prime time yet, but you need to clean up a few things up. You need to work on your texturing, you need to work on your modeling.
And you will talk to them about that if you have time?
If I have time, I will call them. I only had one bad experience where we had this demo reel that was absolutely just heinous. It was the worst thing I'd ever seen. It was geometric primitives playing the drums. And the camera orbited around this guy and went, round head, triangle for a nose, and camera just kept going. And I thought, okay.
That would have been good in 1950.
Well, I thought it was going to morph into some Emerson, Lake and Palmer really cool thing, mocap thing. And holy crap. And we fast forwarded and it kept going, and then it went to another angle. Oh, look, it's the same thing from a different angle. And it was just dreadful. So I called the guy, and I thought, well, I don't know if this is a joke, So I called the guy, and I'll never forget this. I said, hi, is this Fred Smith? Yeah. This is Glenn Campbell from Area 51. We got your demo reel? Yeah. Am I calling it a bad time? No.
Is there a bad time? Wait a minute.
So, I was trying to talk to him about his reel and stuff, and he was low-key but offended that I didn't like his stuff. And all I could imagine was some guy sitting in a room wearing World War II Army gear with the light switch going click, 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 in his Matrix trench coat or something. Yeah. It was really creepy, but most of the time people are really happy that you've seen their reel, you've taken the time to call them, and if you go, look, I got a few pointers for you, fix this, that, and the other, and then let's talk. And they will. And that's what you want. You want people to understand that if you didn't get hired, there's no shame in that unless your reel just sucks and you're not being honest with yourself and going, well, this is just mediocre. But not getting hired simply means there was somebody better than you. And there's no shame in that. I mean, there's way better animators and compositors than me. Area 51 doesn't get every job we bid on, for any number of reasons, but some of which is just those guys were better. You have to be honest. Yeah. So if you've got a demo reel that's not getting you hired, you need to show it to someone other than your mom. You did this. Oh, it's wonderful, son. You need to show it to someone real so they can say, here's where you're lacking. You need to fix this. You need to change that. Drop that off your reel. Because this is important. Students don't have great demo reels for the most part. So what they'll do is they'll say, gee, I don't have a lot of work. I know. I'll put on everything I've got. So no one wants to see a progression. No one wants to see a reel that says, when I started out, I was mediocre, now I just suck. And it's there's a good arc. So what you don't want to ever have on your reel is early stuff that's bad. And there's a very specific reason for that. And this is very important. If people flesh out their reel with early stuff, here's what people think. They go, this guy's work is inconsistent. That's good work. That's mediocre work. I can't trust this guy. He put what he thinks is good work on his reel, best he could ever do, and I'm seeing inconsistency, which means I can't trust him. Is the good work what he did when he's normally on the top of his game?
When
and
he's
the
on
bad
his
work,
meds.
Exactly. And the bad work is I had a cold, I was drinking NyQuil, that stuff's 50 proof, he's a little out of it. Or is the good work what he does when the teacher is helping him, and the bad work what he does when no one's around, and this is all he does? What's normal? He doesn't have a normal. It's inconsistent.
It's the assumption that unlimited time, unlimited money for a student who's working on it. So if they show you stuff that, I only spent 2 hours, well, why did you spend 4 days?
Well, see, here's
that kind of
Exactly. Well, here's also the other problem. There's 3 questions that you can ask yourself if you see bad work on a demo reel. Let's see, good, 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 bad, good, 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 bad. You look at the bad shot, you go, 3 questions. 1, does he not know that's bad? Does he actually think that's professional quality work? Because it's not. Does he not recognize that? You just showed bad judgment. That's strike 1. Question 2, did he know that was bad and not bother to fix it? Yeah, I know when the guy lands, his leg kind of jiggles there because there's gimbal lock on the knee joint. Yeah, it's good enough. It's fine. No, it's not. You showed bad judgment again. Strike 2. Did he know that shot was bad and not know how to fix it? Yeah, when the guy lands, his knee pops because of the gimbal lock. I've done everything. I put a different thing. It's not working. You're not good enough yet. Strike 3. So there's no good answer to why is that bad shot on your demo reel. So it shouldn't be there. If it's not absolute top quality, do not have it on your reel because it hurts you.
And that could mean that the demo reel is very short.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'd rather see a short reel of high quality work than a long reel of good and mediocre work, because again, now it's inconsistent and I don't know what's normal for you, what's good and what's bad. And you're wasting my time with stuff that's not professional. And if you haven't done enough professional work, you know, I still can't trust you because you haven't been doing it long enough. I need to see at least 4 or 5 shots of quality work that say, it's like animation. Some people will move a character and it's like, that's not animation. I want to see it take a step, because object moving is easy. Character animation's hard. If I see a character take 1 step, or if I see this loop, it's just like, okay, let's see you make him do something else. Because if you can't, you know, if all you have is plugins, if all you have is small looping stuff, and I say, the program we've got, you know, we don't have Max, so we don't have biped. You're gonna have to actually animate this guy walking. Oh, well, I don't know how to do that. Then you're not an animator. So you need to show on your demo reel, I am capable of solving problems on my own without plugins. Plugins are great. They make life easier for everyone. But if you have a job or a shot or a sequence that can't utilize those, can you still make it work? Your demo reel says, yeah, I'm badass. That's the guy that gets the job versus the guy that had Video Copilot.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule and coming out here and talking with us.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it. And I know you're going to go off and talk to some more students and
All right.
hopefully give them that same information. So thanks.
All right, thank you.
I guess we're supposed to shake and then look at the camera. Perfect. Thanks. Appreciate it.